You are statistically one financial emergency away from sleeping in your vehicle, and the math proves it. In 2026, Florida is quietly engineering an unprecedented housing collapse, violently displacing working families, seniors, and youth at record speeds. While tourists flock to the beaches, over 900,000 low-income renters are currently suffocating under a math problem they cannot solve. Rent has skyrocketed, the minimum wage is virtually irrelevant, and affordable units have vanished. This is not a failure of individual character. This is a systemic, calculated, economic revolt. Let us break down exactly who is losing everything. The math of displacement. We need to start by completely erasing the outdated stereotypes you have about who becomes unhoused. The person sleeping in their vehicle in a fluorescent-lit retail parking lot tonight probably clocked in for a grinding shift this very morning. They are not disconnected from the economy. They are actively participating in it while the ground collapses beneath them. The empirical data for 2025 and 2026 paints a terrifying, mathematically impossible picture of the current housing landscape. According to the highly detailed 2026 National Low-Income Housing Coalition profile, there are now only 26 affordable rental homes available for every 100 extremely low-income households in the state of Florida. That leaves an unbridgeable statewide deficit of 425,000 affordable units. So, where do those displaced families go when the market simply stops functioning? The descent into homelessness is rarely sudden. It is a grueling, multi-staged phase-out. First, they double up with relatives, cramming multiple families into spaces designed for one. When that fractures, they drain their life savings simply to survive in predatory extended-stay motels. Once the cash evaporates, they transition into aging recreational vehicles or minivans parked out of sight. And eventually, when the fuel runs dry and the engine dies, they spill onto the blazing pavement. But the absolute failure of this system is most evident when we look at the very people keeping the state economy running. Working families. The 115-hour week. If you still believe that working hard is enough to keep a roof over your head in Florida right now, you are mathematically incorrect. Let us look closely at the raw, inescapable numbers. To afford a standard two-bedroom apartment at the 2026 fair market rent in Florida, a minimum wage worker must clock an astonishing 115 hours a week. That equates to holding down nearly 3 full-time jobs simultaneously. Even if we scale down to a simple one-bedroom apartment, you are still looking at 96 hours of continuous labor every single week just to survive. There are only 168 hours in a week. When exactly do you sleep? When do you cook a meal? When do you raise your children? This is the very systemic dependency forcing working-class families into vehicles and nylon tents. The wage-to-rent ratio is fundamentally permanently broken. Average asking rents have surged past $2,200 a month, while the state cost of living inflation in the 2020s accelerated at nearly 5 times the rate of the previous decade. When the basic cost of existing rises exponentially faster than the compensation for producing labor, displacement is guaranteed. This disparity is not a temporary glitch or an accidental byproduct of a free market. The system is not failing the working families of Florida. It is functioning exactly as it is designed to right now. It is pricing them out of the real estate market with cold, surgical precision, replacing long-term residents with higher-paying transient capital. Working families are merely the first to fall in a deliberate economic purge. Seniors on the brink, fixed incomes versus variable greed. Now let us examine a demographic that breaks all conventional logic, and the one that is currently growing the fastest on the streets. Imagine working your entire adult life, paying taxes, retiring quietly, and then receiving a brutal eviction notice simply because your landlord realized they could effortlessly extract $800 more a month from an out-of-state remote worker. According to data from the Schimberg Center for Housing Studies, renters aged 55 and older now make up a staggering 39% of Florida cost-burdened households. These are vulnerable human beings surviving on fixed incomes who are colliding head-on with variable corporate greed. Florida has seen property insurance premiums skyrocket by an incomprehensible 63% since the start of 2020. The real estate market is passing every single penny of that exorbitant overhead directly down to the lowest level tenants. A fixed Social Security check cannot absorb a sudden $500 monthly rent hike. The math shatters. When a senior citizen loses their apartment in this climate, they lack the physical and financial capacity to ever bounce back into the market. They cannot simply take on a second manual labor job to offset the deficit. For an elderly resident facing the brutal, suffocating Florida heat without shelter, the street rapidly becomes a literal death sentence. But as highly visible and tragic as the senior housing crisis is becoming across the state, there is another devastated group entirely hidden from the daily commuter: the invisible youth and the school system. Secret, you will rarely see them holding cardboard signs on the bustling downtown sidewalks, but the public school system knows exactly who they are. During the 2024 to 2025 school year, in Orange County alone, an astonishing 8,830 students were officially identified as experiencing homelessness. Stop the video right now and let that staggering number fully sink in. Nearly 9,000 innocent kids scattered throughout a single county. These are unaccompanied youth and the children of displaced working families living in hyper-transient roadside motels, sleeping on the couches of distant friends, or attempting to complete their math homework under the dim dome light of a decaying minivan. This is the hidden, terrifying pipeline of the housing crisis. They are entirely absent from traditional street counts, yet they represent the darkest economic indicator of our future. When a developing child loses foundational stability, their life trajectory fundamentally shifts. The relentless daily trauma of profound housing insecurity physically rewires the neural pathways of their developing brains. It floods their tiny nervous systems with toxic levels of cortisol, severely stunting cognitive development and emotional regulation. By depriving a child of basic spatial security, society is dramatically increasing the statistical probability that they will become the chronically unhoused adults of tomorrow. We are actively manufacturing the next generation of suffering, ensuring that the systemic failures of today transform into the permanent societal catastrophes of the next several decades. Chronic homelessness, the $30,000 street sentence. This inevitably brings us to the most visible edge of the ongoing crisis: the chronically unhoused. These are the individuals actively battling severe psychological illnesses, profound chemical addictions, and crippling physical disabilities. The data is undeniable. The 2026 point-in-time count documented exactly 2,724 homeless individuals sleeping rough on a single night across just 3 central Florida counties. Politicians continuously pass aggressive legislation to sweep these individuals out of sight before tourist events, completely ignoring the fundamental economics of the issue. Let us permanently strip away the toxic moral judgments and look purely at the cold, hard mathematics of criminalizing human survival. Leaving a chronically homeless individual to languish on the pavement costs local taxpayers an average of $84.93 every single day in emergency room visits, aggressive police interventions, and short-term jail stays. That equates to well over $30,000 per year per person. We are literally spending an exorbitant financial premium just to keep human beings in a state of perpetual suffering. It would be mathematically cheaper to simply provide them with permanent supportive housing and dedicated psychiatric care. But we actively choose not to. Why? Because culturally, we still stubbornly treat a safe roof as a conditional reward for strict societal compliance rather than a fundamental human necessity. The cruelty is not just an accident, it is incredibly expensive. We are willingly draining our own public resources simply to punish those who have fallen. The predictable future, projecting the next decade. So what exactly happens next? If you precisely map the current macroeconomic vectors, stagnant wage growth, skyrocketing insurance premiums, and the rapid, ruthless depletion of affordable housing stock, the predictive data models become apocalyptic. We are hurtling toward the devastating 2034 cliff. By that year, over 33,000 publicly assisted units across Florida are projected to lose their affordability protections entirely, allowing corporate landlords to instantly flip them to market rate. If this current, unchecked trajectory holds, we are staring down a terrifying mathematical certainty. The unhoused population of Florida will easily double by the mid-2030s. As the supply of accessible homes for low-income earners trends steadily toward absolute zero, the foundational base of our economic pyramid will completely collapse. We are going to witness the massive, grim normalization of recreational vehicle homelessness alongside sprawling, unauthorized encampments stretching across the swampy peripheries of major metropolitan zones. The once thriving middle class will be hollowed out entirely, leaving a deeply fractured state strictly divided by a harsh binary line. On one side will be the wealthy individuals and corporations who own massive real estate assets, and on the other will be the transient service workers forced to endlessly maintain those assets from the back seats of their cars. This is not a mere possibility, it is the exact endpoint of our current data trajectory if unprecedented legislative intervention does not happen immediately. The final equation. Florida is the definitive canary in the coal mine for the broader American housing market. The catastrophe unfolding across the state in 2026 is not an isolated temporary glitch. It is the horrifying new economic baseline that is slowly creeping toward every major city in the country. Drugs, heat, and daily street chaos are actively breaking human lives on a terrifying scale. But the absolute root cause is a merciless economic ledger that no longer balances for the working class. The mathematical realities we have explored today are a stark warning of a deeply unsustainable society. When the people who pave the roads, teach the children, serve the food, and clean the hospitals can no longer afford to sleep in the cities they keep alive, the entire system stands on the brink of catastrophic collapse. We have transformed the basic biological need for shelter into a highly speculative predatory asset class, completely disconnecting human survival from human labor. The numbers do not lie, and the trajectory is set. The displacement is structural, mathematical, and incredibly ruthless. The data we have presented leaves us all with one final, urgent question. How many 115-hour workweeks can a terrified, exhausted population possibly sustain before the delicate fabric of our society completely unravels before our very eyes?